Hello, everybody. Good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this Applaud session today on how the HR/work tech landscape has changed forever. I'm really excited about this session, delighted to be joined by Josh Bersin, who really needs no introduction, but I will give him one anyway in just a moment. First, we have a few housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded, so we will send out the link to the recorded session after the webinar. That will give you access to all of the content on here. We do also have a questions section as well. We'd love to hear from you. We have a questions panel at the bottom of GoToWebinar, and we'll be running a Q&A at the end of the session. We'll pick out some of the questions and fire them across to Josh. So we'd love to hear your questions. Feel free to put them in the question panel at any time in the session. And I see we still have lots of people joining us. So if you just joined us, welcome to today's session. We're just about to get started. Okay. Alrighty, well, it's been a tremendously exciting time. I can't think of a time in the HR tech industry where it's been more disruptive. I think the change that we've had in the last couple of years has been phenomenal. HR have done just absolutely amazing things. There's just been so much change and disruption and opportunity. And I think what we've really seen is just massive change in the HR tech industry, the work tech industry. It's been really, really exciting to see some of that change. And there's some really, really important and interesting things that we can learn about and use to help us going forward. So I think what I'd like to do is hand you over to Josh, who's going to be able to talk a little bit about some of those areas and give you an insight into how the work tech landscape has changed forever.
Okay,
Josh, over to you.
Okay, Duncan, thank you. All right, everybody. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's been going on in work tech stuff. Is this working? You guys seeing my screen? Is that working?
We can see your PowerPoint.
Great. Okay, sounds good. Well, oops, what happened? There we go. It's a big topic, and I think the first thing I want to kind of introduce is the idea of the word employee experience. Employee experience, we just finished a big study on this, a research report you can download at that link. It's free and it's very, very comprehensive. And what it really talks about is what is going on in the world of HR tech and why employee experience has become such a massive topic. And it does go back to the economy and the job market. If you think back, not about the pandemic, but long, long before that, going back to the 2008 recession, roughly, most companies have been going through massive amounts of digital transformation. And I don't just mean implementing digital tools. I mean changing jobs, changing roles, changing products, changing services. I can't think of a single industry that hasn't been disrupted in some way. And we now live in a world where 90% of the work that goes on in business is service-related work. It's human value add work. Most of the routine work is slowly or rather quickly being automated, and the pandemic accelerated all that. So everything that was going on before the pandemic, we used to call it the overwhelmed employee. Now we have the overwhelmed employee at home, the overwhelmed employee at hybrid work, the overwhelmed employee on their phones. And in the middle of all that, the job market is growing like crazy. So companies are saying, well, not only do we have to keep people productive and safe and happy at work or at home, but we need to hire more people and we can't afford to lose them. So in fact, one of the problems with the employee experience being so problematic is that people are changing jobs very quickly. In April, 4 million people in the United States left their jobs. There are only 160 million people working here. So that was almost 3% of the workforce decided, I'm done, I'm finding something else to do. There are people sort of deciding to check out, but most of them will come back to work later. And so there's essentially a new, very, very hyperactive war for talent going on. And I won't, in fact, let me show you this picture because it's kind of funny. It's not just a good idea to be nice to your employees because it makes them happy. It's also a business continuity issue. If you can't hire people in a growing economy, which we're in for most places in the world, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, then your competitors are probably taking market share away from you, and all sorts of other bad things are happening. There's a coffee shop around the corner from me. My wife went to get some coffee the other day, and she said they were closed at 2 in the afternoon, and she knocked on the window and said, how come you guys are open? She said, and they said, there's nobody to work here. We just closed up because we can't get any people to come in and do the jobs. So anyway, that's why EX matters. And EX is a symptom and outgrowth of the company transformation. So it isn't just something that came out of nowhere because we felt we needed to take care of people better. Most of you have been changing the jobs in your company because of the products and services you're delivering. You're sending things, you're delivering things digitally and electronically in trucks using different AI tools, chatbots, technology like video and online. Employees are also realizing in this newfound power they have, many of whom are now working from home, that, maybe I don't need to work for this job full time, and I can work for this job, and then I can do this other thing over here on the side. So employee experience is vitally important, and it fits into a lot of the transformations that are going on in the economy. And so there's a reason why companies like Applaud have such a big opportunity, because we're trying to make work better and easier and more productive, also improving engagement, also improving internal mobility, and making the technology experience better. And employees are telling us with lots and lots of data that they need it and they want it. This is data from Glint, which is a division of a product group within LinkedIn, that showed that, and this is about 4 or 5 months old now, but that the burnout rate in the workforce is at an all-time high. And if you don't take care of the employee experience, you're just making it worse. Now, there are many aspects to employee experience, as I'll show you in a minute, but one big part of it is technology. And as I'll explain to you in just a few minutes, what Applaud does is Applaud has built a platform that can help you deliver and design employee experiences without replacing all of these back-end systems. And even if you're not a very big company, you probably have a lot of these tools. The average large company has 70 employee applications. I'm not kidding. This is research done by Okta, OKTA, which is an identity management system. All the little things that happen behind the scenes at work are running on some tool or some software platform somewhere that somebody bought or built, plus to say nothing of the ones that sit on top of them. So, we can't tell, the employees we're going to get rid of a bunch of stuff because there's always more. In fact, it's a little bit like the Marie Kondo problem, that if you noticed how the drawers in your house, even after you clean them out 3 years later, they're filled with stuff. I don't know how that happens, but it seems to happen. That's what happens in companies. And of course, employees are mentally fatigued from all this, and a significant amount of effort going on in the EX market is mental health, teaching managers how to be more flexible, creating a more forgiving environment, giving people days off. We have a 3-day weekend coming up this weekend. Here in the US, we're taking Friday off at our company to make it a 4-day weekend. And so all of that is coupled with this new idea of creating a hybrid back to work experience. Nobody quite knows what hybrid work is going to be yet, because there's different levels of tolerance for the pandemic. I mean, we thought we were going back to work a little sooner than we were, but we have to realize that employee experience is a constant discussion and a constant examination of Maslow's hierarchy. What happens, of course, in all of our lives, and especially as a working person, is we move up and down this pyramid. And when we're not comfortable with the things at the bottom, we don't think about the things at the top. If the system doesn't work, or I can't find my emails, or there's an open case because I lost my password, I'm not thinking about my career or my, long-term growth. I'm thinking about my password. So what we have to do is we have to eliminate and simplify the things at the bottom so we can focus on the things at the top. And we have to do this in the context of not just buying a piece of software and turning it on, but in the context of this being an ongoing design issue. One of the things that's changed the most, I'm actually working on a big speech on this. I'm going to be giving at the HR Technology Conference at the end of September. One of the biggest things that's changed in the world of employee experience and in the world of HR too is the fact that we are now designers. We're not just here to listen and run a survey and say, oh, that's interesting, the employee engagement numbers went up, or look at how people are not happy about their pay. Well, we can't do anything about that, so let's just ignore that question. No, we have to design solutions, and we've been given tools like Applaud to do that. Now, if you have, ADP or Workday or Oracle or SAP or whatever your back-end systems are, there's some design tools in there, but they were never designed to be design tools. So employee experience is becoming a really interesting market of self-empowering tools for you as an HR person, for your IT department, and for managers to solve these kinds of problems. Now, there's many things on this chart, all sorts of areas of employee lives, and this is mostly the HR stuff, but it crosses HR and IT and finance and legal. And what we need, and it also includes well-being, by the way. One of the new proliferation of tools that's going on in companies is well-being solutions, exercise, fitness, mental health, resilience coaching, online coaching. Most of you probably have a lot of that stuff, and your employees may not even know where it all is. So anyway, that's really what's been going on in EX. So we did the study of this, and I'm going to go through the study, and then I'll talk about the technology. And we looked at 80 things, because I've been doing this for a while, and I've been, examining all of the different aspects of work that matter. And they really fall into 6 or 7 categories: the job and the work itself, the management and supervisory experience, the workplace, the health and well-being and safety of the workplace, opportunity to grow, and the sense of trust and leadership, and the technology underneath all that. And what we found was that while technology plays a massive role, I'll talk about technology next, trust, integrity, fairness, inclusion, belonging play an even more important role. So don't forget that stuff. People will put up with maybe not perfect IT systems if the rest of this is taken care of. And they also want growth, they want appreciation, they want managers that care, and they want a team that they feel like they're a part of. And that's what this research shows. And if you read that report, I think you'll see all sorts of really interesting things about it. In the area of technology, I'll show you the technology industry in a minute, but another big part of this is listening. When we looked at HR tech as a dimension of EX, what we found is that the parts of HR tech that are the most important of all are not just ease of use, which is obviously important, but really data, feedback, information, giving people the opportunity to speak up and getting that information to the person who needs it quickly, and then maybe even sending that directly to a service center so a case can be opened on an employee's behalf and they can be served quickly in what we call a continuous response model. So all of that is part of EX. So where does technology fit into all this? Well, what Applaud has done, and Applaud is a vendor in a very hot new space of employee experience platforms, is let's not try to re-engineer everything we have. It's not going to happen anyway. Software, the interesting thing about software, I used to talk about this with guys at IBM. Software is hard. It is really hard to change software. If you build a system that's a recruiting system and it's really good at, communicating with candidates or assessing people for a fit to a job, you're not going to change that overnight. It takes a long time to build it. It takes a long time to design it. So a lot of these back-end transactional systems, the 70 applications you have in your company, don't hold your breath for them to suddenly become magnificently easier to use. They certainly will over time, but you can stick something on top, and that's what this red layer is. Now, we used to call this an employee portal, and employee portals have been around forever. They were always very expensive to build. You would use SharePoint or something else like that, and your IT department had to be involved. You'd hire a consultant. Next thing you know, you've got to have security in there, and then you have to have an employee directory, and then you have to have all sorts of training and communications and open enrollment programs and newsletters and on and on and on. And those things become really big. I mean, there's giant groups of people in big companies that work on these employee portals. Well, now we have products that do this. And as you can see, they sit in the middle between the productivity layer, Microsoft, Workplace, Slack, Zoom, whatever you may use. These are sort of the main ones at the top, and the back-end systems. And they're called employee experience platforms. And I'm actually one of the ones, if not the one, who came up with that name. We wrote a pretty well-known article on employee experience platforms 3 years ago in partnership with ServiceNow at the time. And what we were doing was trying to convince you and the market that it would be unlikely that every vendor would become an end-to-end employee experience solution, and that it would have been a good idea if we had something in the middle. And that is really what's happened. Now, Applaud is one of the more mature and sophisticated implementations of this, and you'll see this if you talk to these guys about the product, but it does a lot of things. It has to deal with applications at the top, many of which you will build yourself. An onboarding application you can't buy off the shelf, but you can, buy a template for it. But it has to have search and discovery and security, voice or chat tools, case management, knowledge management, surveys, feedback. Those things in the darker blue at the third layer down are services that you should expect from a product like Applaud, and then you can build, the things you need at the top. In fact, the thing that I think is going on now in most HR departments, certainly in bigger companies, is this issue of where do we build the employee experience? Do we configure Workday? Workday has a whole tool set called Workday Extend that allows you to build cross-functional applications in Workday. Companies have built back-to-work applications in Workday Extend. You have to be a software engineer to do that. Should you build it in Microsoft Teams? Should you build it in SharePoint? Well, I'm not going to tell you the answer because it varies by application, but really the big, opening of all this is that you can decide your own. And what I think is really kind of cool about Applaud, from what I've seen of it and what I know about it, is it is designed to be a creator platform, an easy to use developer platform, so that you can, not as an IT engineer, but really as an HR person or as a business person, you can build workflows for these various things that go on at work on top of many of these applications. It's going to be a bit of a holy war where all of these vendors are going to try to build more and more development tools for you, and we'll see where it goes. Anyway, it's a really important direction in the market. I have a podcast on this. It's been very well vetted, and lots of information on our website. Final thing I'll leave you with on the general topic of EX is if you read the report, the definitive guide, what you'll see is there's stages to growth. The first and most important part of EX is the bottom, which is making it efficient to get work done, making it easier for people to find things. Then there's the issue of creating support and training and education and communications in an employee directory. Then there's the issue of diversity, inclusion, and teamwork and storytelling. And finally, giving people the opportunity to grow. And you'll find that in the EX layer, the EXP, you're going to want to do all of this. Some of this will be dependent on back-end systems, but your employee experience will get better over time. In fact, if you look at those 4 layers and the business results that come from your movement up those layers, we looked at this data in 3 ways. We had 3 kinds of business results. We looked at financial outcomes, which are called business outcomes on this chart, human capital outcomes like retention, engagement, Glassdoor ratings in the middle, and then growth and creativity. Are you a market leader? Are you an innovative company? Are you considered to be a pioneering, kind of inventor in your industry? And what we found is that sure enough, as you move up this model of 4 levels, your outcomes change. You get a lot of financial performance out of simplicity and support. Obviously, give people more time to do the work they're supposed to be doing. You get a lot of human capital benefits from creating purpose and mission. And then when you deal with growth and equity and diversity, you get better creativity because people feel more psychologically safe and they'll go beyond their current job to do something new. So you get a whole bunch of things to do here. And EX isn't something you're going to do in a day. This is a business initiative that grows over time. It's something that's cross-functional, involves HR, IT, finance, legal, administration, and obviously managers. And it will result in many, many good things, and you will learn a lot about your company by doing this. By the way, you can't really do it without getting close to the business. We've done a lot of work on EX, and a lot of it's in that research, but eventually what really will happen through platforms like Applaud is it will free you from the complexities of dealing with technical issues in your HR tech, and it'll give you the time to get to know what employees are really doing and what are the things, the information, the tools, the training, the connections that they really need to be better at their jobs. And that's really what we're here to do in HR. We're really here to meet employees in their jobs, at the point of work, in their daily lives, and make that easier and better for them. And so I think the EX platforms and products like Applaud free you to do that. And then you can obviously buy and build all the back-end systems you want to make every individual part of this get better. So Duncan, there you go. I think I'll stop there and turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Josh, that's fantastic, right on time, and really amazing, brilliant insights. Thank you for sharing those. Some incredible research there, and some big thinking that we've got to do and prepare ourselves for the future. I think we have a few minutes for questions. We have a few questions that came in before the session, and some coming in during the session. So
sure,
I'm just going to fire a few of these across to you and see what you make. So first of all, if you're facing a complete overhaul of your digital employee experience, where's the best place to start?
Good question. Well, I would say start where the problem's the biggest. There's a million things to do. There's hundreds of possible, journeys and applications and problems, but I would say go to a business area or a functional area that is having the biggest problem. Usually there's a high turnover rate there, or low performance, or lots of complaining about something, and dig in with them and get to know the roles and diagnose the problems and work on them one at a time in a co-design approach. What really works in EX is not for you to sit around in HR and dream up something that you think people will like, but build it with them. Create a cross-functional team, iterate, pilot something and build it over time and make it better. And they'll be totally behind you. And as you do that, one project at a time, you'll get better and better at doing it. And I think if you use a platform like Applaud, you won't be sitting around hiring hundreds of consultants to build things for you. Although, you may end up doing that too, because there may be new systems that you need to build or buy. But That would be my recommendation.
Fantastic. Here's one that is will get you thinking. Is there such a thing as a future-proofed employee experience strategy?
Yeah, it's a continuous investment. It's a philosophy and a continuous focus that we're always going to figure out what will make employees' lives better. And we're going to do it from a design standpoint, not just an employee relations standpoint. Now, I was on the phone last night with a company, a pharmaceutical company, and the person in charge of employee experience's job title is Director of Employee Relations. And I'm thinking, that's not the right job. Employee relations is an old way of thinking about this. This isn't just, oh, let's look at all the trouble tickets and send them to the right person. This is, let's look at the trouble tickets, analyze them, and redesign and continuously design the experience we want. I mean, look at what happened at the pandemic. Most companies did not have remote work policies, remote work tools, mental and resilience programs, mental health programs. There's a million things companies didn't have that they now have. It wasn't that hard when you had to do it. And if you continue that idea that our job is to constantly figure out what we can do to make employees' lives more productive, then you will be future-proof. And by the way, AI is coming along faster and faster and faster, so there will be chatbots and recommendation engines and natural language processing. In fact, right now you can buy a lot of that, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of that in your platform in Applaud. So that's how you future-proof it.
All right. I think we've got time for maybe just one more question. What are the hottest digital employee experience tools in the market today?
Well, I think Applaud is a pretty hot tool. I know you guys are a relatively small company, but you're growing very fast. ServiceNow is very big. I think Microsoft Viva will be very big because so many people are Microsoft shops. So they already have Microsoft technology. And then, whatever productivity platform you have, Salesforce, Google, Microsoft, Slack, those will be the manifestations of a lot of this too. So those are to me, the hot vendors.
Brilliant. Josh, I think we're out of time, but thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure having you with us today. I really appreciate you coming along, and thank you to everybody who attended. Just as a reminder, the recording will be sent out after the session today, and thank you so much for listening and for your questions.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks again. Bye.